morning. It's Kirsten here with another integrated physiotherapy, yoga therapy practice. So today we are going to be talking about and exploring connecting our ribs to our pelvis. So this is an area we're going to be moving and feeling and breathing into the area that's between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. So all around your waist, the sides of your waist, into your low back, and your lumbar spine is in there as well. So lots of people may call this area your core. There's so much baggage maybe that goes along with calling this core work. So for today, let's just not call it that. Let's call it the place in between the bottom of your ribs and the top of your pelvis. So the last two videos we did, if you've been following along, we were talking about hubs of movement. We talked about the rib cage being a hub of movement for your arms and the pelvis being a hub of movement for your legs. So this connecting piece in here, this piece that we're exploring today that joins the two hubs together. So it's a really important place for communication between your legs and your arms and your arms and your legs. It's a place that needs to be able to respond and transfer load from the top down or from the bottom up. So let's explore that today and see what you feel. So we're going to start just in a comfortable seated position. Oh, I should let you know about a couple props that might come in handy. If you have a strap or a belt or a tie or just something that you can hold in your hands about shoulder width apart, that would be really handy. Another thing that we'll use, if you have a foam roller, grab that for this practice. If you don't have a foam roller, don't worry about it. I'll explain how to do the movement with both the roller and without. So starting in a comfortable seated position, strap and foam roller kind of ready to be grabbed later. And just feeling what you feel. So just check in with that space between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. Take a few breaths and feel how that space, this part of your torso, changes in order to transform the air that's in front of your face into the breath that comes into your body. So this connecting piece, this piece that connects the two major hubs of movement in our body, plays a really big role in allowing your torso to expand and contract in order to draw air in and gently press air out. This space has such a huge, huge, huge role in how we breathe. Wonderful. Let's explore just a little deeper. So bringing your fingers just to the bottom of your rib cage and then just gently trace along there. Trace along the bottom of your ribs, coming right to the sides of your waist. And then just moving back and forth along there. And feeling what you feel in here. This isn't an area, until recently anyways for me, that I kind of started exploring. I'm like, what's up with these tissues in here? So it's interesting to notice if you have tissues that feel a little more active or tight on one side versus the other. It's interesting to feel if there's places that really are happy for your fingers to move in there, and if there's places where it's not so happy for that to happen. Good. Let's continue working your hands around to the back. So I'll turn slightly. Working your hands around to the back of your rib cage, and then moving again out to the sides and then around to the back. And just, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just moving, exploring those tissues, noticing what's up this morning with those tissues. Good. And then let's bring your hands further down. You can find kind of the wings of your pelvis, your iliac crests here. And then with your hands coming around to the front, you can, again, just at the ribs, we were kind of poking in and under the ribs a little bit. For the pelvis, the bowl of the pelvis, we can do a similar action, especially here on the front. So letting your fingers come to the front of that iliac crest and then slide them in. Depending on the pliability or the give of the tissues there, you may be able to kind of hook your fingers like right onto the inside of your pelvis. If anyone's had active release therapy for hip flexors, this may be a little bit familiar. Good. And then again, just following the top of your pelvis right around to the back and just checking in with those tissues again. Wonderful. And then having spent that little bit of time kind of exploring the tissues, feel what you can feel in that area, the connection between pelvis and ribs, kind of like the relay station of movement between your legs and your arms. Feel what you feel there. Wonderful. Let's head into our first asana, or our first posture, where we'll continue exploring this. We're going to come legs up the wall. So come on over towards the wall. Helps to come in sideways and then roll yourself back and up so that your legs are just comfortably resting on the wall. In terms of how close or how far away your sit bones should be from the wall, let yourself be as far away from the wall as you need to be so that your low back isn't getting pushed flat down into the wall. We'd like the movement to be coming at your hips to bring your legs up into this position, not transferring up into your low back. Great. Then find your strap and bring your arms up so they're just resting over your shoulders. Elbows can be relatively straight. Just a gentle grip on your strap so that your arms don't fall outwards. And then with each breath here, I'd like you to let your limbs sink into the hubs of movement. So your thigh bones, you can imagine they're like fence posts sinking into the mud. So they're sinking into the socket of your pelvis at your hip joint. So let your legs connect into your pelvis. And then with the arms, your arms are connecting into your shoulder blades, and then your shoulder blades rest on the back of your rib cage hub of movement. So really easy here. Feeling the connection of legs into pelvis and then pelvis down onto your floor. And the connection of arms into shoulder blades to the back of your ribs down onto the floor. So you're not actively trying to snug anything into anything else. Just let gravity do the work and feel where your arms and your legs connect into their respective hubs. And then while you're here, bring your awareness into the connection, the space between your ribs and your pelvis. There's so much in this space, so much going on. You've got your diaphragm moving in this space. You've got the muscles of your pelvic floor connecting up on the inside of the bowl of your pelvis into your hip flexors. You've got your abdominal muscles, the paraspinal muscles in your low back, your obliques, your transversus abdominis, all sorts of wonderfully designed systems. And in order to feel them working, let's not pre-brace or anticipate in this connection point. Let's see if we can keep all of those tissues, that space between ribs and pelvis, soft and pliable and responsive. So as we change it up from these kind of quiet, still postures into ones that incorporate more movement, you'll have the opportunity to feel this area of your body connecting the hubs. If you brace and hold and really get rigid through there, the communication hits that brick wall. As forces move down your arms and into that space, it hits a brick wall, can't communicate down to your pelvis. Vice versa, if you're gripped and braced, forces come up through your legs into your pelvis, hit a brick wall, can't communicate, can't be absorbed into the system. So let's work on really feeling that absorption and transfer today. Great. Keeping your legs up the wall, you can set your strap off to one side. You may need to slide back from the wall just a little bit so that you can bend your knees. Arms can just rest down by your sides. Your head obviously can be facing straight up. I'm just turning to make sure that you can see me in the cameras here. So we're going to head into a little bit of a twist, keeping the backs of your ribs and both shoulders on the ground. Let your pelvis start to roll off to one side so that your legs roll off to the side as well, moving only so far as shoulders can stay on the ground. Then lifting one leg, coming back over. I run out of wall space here, but that's okay. And let the pelvis roll, keeping the shoulders flat on the ground. Legs come over. Wonderful. Lifting the top leg, pelvis rolls, ribs stay quiet, shoulders stay firmly planted. So your legs may or may not come all the way together as you lift and lower side to side. That's fine. That's a-okay. If you come to here, that's a-okay. If you come to here, that's a-okay. Move in a way that allows your shoulders to stay on the ground. And then as you kind of rock side to side here, feel the response in the hub connection. Feel the response in the tissues that live between your ribs and your pelvis. Great. Then coming back up and just resting at center again. A few breaths here. And then we can roll up off the wall and come back so that you are, I'm going to just spin myself around. We're going to set up for a bridge pose here. So laying back on the floor, bringing your hands in the space between your pelvis and your ribs. Little fingers can be down at the front of your iliac crest, the front of your pelvis, and thumbs can come up and reach the bottom of your ribs. Bring your heels in a little bit closer towards your bum. And then as we head up into bridge, remember, so there's a relationship between your ribs and your pelvis. There's a distance between your thumbs and your pinky fingers here. I'd like you to play with moving into bridge in a way that that distance stays the same. So your ribs and your pelvis stay connected as you lift and lower into your bridge. So often we're cued to kind of tuck. So we tend to lift our pelvis first and then the ribs come rolling off. For today, just for this exploration today, there's nothing wrong with doing your bridge pose that way. But for today, as we're trying to get to know the connection between ribs and pelvis, let's work to keep them connected. Let's work to keep them connected. So lifting up. Good. And lowering down. Notice if you're wanting to tuck your belly button into your spine, knit your rib cage down towards your pelvis, any of those kind of stereotypical core stability cues. If you're heading into any of those, can you just gently put them off to the side for today? And instead, let this space, the connection between the hubs, be soft and pliable, and feel how it responds to this movement challenge. Good. Let's do 2 more. So with your connection here, staying a little more pliable, a little more agile and responsive, your breath doesn't get blocked either. If you're bracing or holding in that area, it's harder to breathe. This area needs to expand and contract in order to do its wonderful, magical work, really, of transforming air that's in front of your face into the breath that nourishes us. So from bridge pose, come on up into your tabletop position. This is where, if you have your foam roller, you can give that a shot. So we're going to add a bit of a twist. So bringing one arm underneath the other one so that it's just touching the foam roller. Now your ribs are going to turn as you come into this twist. Pelvis stays level. And then you come back up. So you're moving around the shoulder. The movement is happening kind of around this shoulder. And there's a change in the relationship between the pelvis and the ribs. Feel the tissues between those two hubs of movement as your ribs turn above your pelvis. And notice if you want to bend or shorten. Notice if you want to clench through your jaw and move in a way that you don't have to clench. You don't have to side bend. If you don't have the foam roller, your hand can just come down to the ground, and then you're kind of just gently tracing your fingers across. Another thing that people like is sometimes to wrap your hand around to the opposite side of the rib cage, and then you can even feel the ribs rolling on top of the pelvis. Let's head off to the other side. I'm going to use my foam roller because I have it. You use the technique that works best for you. Feeling the space between ribs and pelvis, and feel the tissues as you twist the other way. Let that area stay responsive. Wonderful. We can move the foam roller off to the side again as well and come back into your tabletop. As you're in tabletop, check in. Is there any way this is an odd request perhaps, but play along with me if you will, if you're up for it. Is there any way that you can let your belly relax a little bit? So I'm just going to roll up my shirt a little bit here so you can see. I know I like to hold my belly in and up. That creates some rigidity, some bracing through my lovely hub connection point. So what I'd like you to try is, can you just let those tissues go? There we go. So there's my lovely belly. Good. Breathe into the space between ribs and pelvis. Let that hub connection be pliable and easy. Tuck your toes beneath you, and we're going to move from having toes, knees, and hands on the ground to having just toes and hands on the ground. So we'll gently lift the knees, just like an inch or so off the ground, and then let them come back down. So notice, watch closely, and in the area between my ribs and my pelvis. There's one way I would often do this is, see that little tuck, whoop, brace, hold. So I like lock and load through there, and then I lift my knees. With that method, I can't feel a darn thing between my pelvis and my ribs. So I'm curious if that may be a similar situation for you. So let's play with, instead of lock and loading, gritting our teeth and getting through this, let's actually feel these tissues respond to this increased challenge, this increased load, where we take two of our support points away when we lift the knees. So breath into your belly. No rib cage being knit down to your pelvis. No Kegel. Don't lift your pelvic floor. Don't do any of that stuff. Just play along here and see what you feel. So all you need to do is lift your knees and feel how those tissues, they know what to do. They engage as much as they need to support you in this place that transfers the load between your legs and your arms. Good. Notice if you want to arch your back when you're lifting, or round your upper spine. Again, just nice and easy through this hub connection point. There we go. So that as you slowly lift your knees, you can feel what happens around your waist. Wonderful. Let's take this one little step further. Sending one leg back. Good. So this is a movement that happens thigh bone connecting into your pelvis. So we're extending at the hip joint here. Watch if you send that leg back by arching through your back, okay? Your back can stay nice and easy. Just simply extend the leg bone back behind you. Wonderful. Nice, easy belly breath. No pre-bracing, pre-clenching. And then again, we'll decrease the support we have under us. We're going to increase the challenge, the load transfer and absorption challenge in this hub connection by stepping the other foot back to plank. Good. Then your knee can come back down. Knee can come back down. Feel the responsiveness in this connection. Let's do that again. Send the other leg back. Simply extending through your hip. Easy breathing. Try not to anticipate. Feel the response. Wonderful. Then come on back to your sitting position where we started this practice. And feel what you feel here in sitting. What's new? Maybe what's changed? Not only in this space that we've been focusing on today and the connection between the hubs of movement of your pelvis and your ribs, but how does your whole system feel? Having spent 25 minutes or so paying attention to that connection. Good. And then again, come in and just check back in with these tissues. How have they responded to your practice? Oh, that's really curious. I had a big difference side to side here in the beginning. This left side is really tight, really did not want to let me in. And it's changed up. Great. So thanks for following along. I hope you enjoyed this practice. I hope that you learned a little bit about your body and how you move, and how all of your component parts need to communicate with each other through these kind of like transfer stations almost in our physical system. So let me know what you think. Feel free to comment below. And I will be back next week with another integrated yoga therapy and physiotherapy practice. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye, guys.